Hey guys, this is HD. Welcome back. And I'm proud to say that I am now here with a co-caster. I was getting so tired in this broiling hot room that I had to bring someone out here to assist me, and I'm proud to say that Cat's Pajamas is here.
Hello, hello everyone. Glad to be back.
And he's not sick anymore.
Oh, yes, I know.
So we'll be able to co-cast this series of games here. Now remember guys, this is in the round of 64 qualifiers of the IPL, and it is between Moonan versus Zock. In the first game, which was on Zelnaga Caverns, Moonan was really behind the entire game, but he was able to come back with a really well-placed position of his units and able to snipe off the Colossus, as well as landing down great snipes on the entire Protoss army. So I really think that he was able to come back in that game even though he was behind, and Zock really relying on Dark Templar the entire game. It just didn't work out. So he did fall in game 1, and here we are in game 2.
Yeah, that's good to hear too, because Moonan, a pretty versatile player, able to drop when necessary, able to also engage in a straight line engagement. So I'm really curious to see what both these players are going to bring out here. Close positions horizontally on Shakura's plateau. They were asking if there was if it was MLG or if it was fixed positions. No, on this map, the only way you can't spawn is close positions vertically. Other than that, everything's free game, as obviously we see here. So I'm really interested to see what both these players bring out. Zock is the kind of player that if he goes 0-1, down 0-1 in a set, he's not necessarily just going to cheese. He's just going to try and beat you with a decent overall strategy. So I wouldn't expect anything too weird out of Zock.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I don't think that Zock is the type of player to just say, oh, I dropped a game, so now I'm going to cheese to win it. I definitely don't think he's the kind of player to do those kind of things. He's really solid on his kind of macro builds, and I think he's just going to play this game out the way it would have been played, as if it were game 1. He's not the type of player to let momentum really affect him, but Moonan really has that kind of confidence after taking off Zock, which is really, he's like the elite player of ATN. That's got to be a real confidence boost going into game 2 here, and it remains to be seen what these two players are going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like gas number 1 just about to finish up for Zaka. Yeah, so I mean, it's really going to come down to gas timings for him. Is he going to go into some sort of a 3-gate expand? You know, we're on Shakura's plateau. 1-gate expand is very, very popular here as well. I would expect relatively fast expansions out of both players, to be perfectly honest. Although no real inclination of any sort of strategy yet out of Moonan, as he has just gone for that very, very basic 10 supply, 12 racks, 13 gas, 15 orbital command.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on, Cats. You're dead right. Now, one thing I want to kind of point out about this map is these destructible rocks that are no longer there. Okay, so in this version, I guess they removed the destructible rocks between the two bases. So actually, back in the days, you would be able to kind of maneuver your way between those two bases, and you know, you could 3 racks all in and crush your opponent Protoss. But that was in the classic good old days. They seem to have removed those rocks now. We won't be seeing any of those shenanigans. So I think you're right. Both players are probably going to fast expand, and we're going to be seeing a nice drawn-out Protoss versus Terran. And
we already see that out from Moonan now. He did go ahead and drop down the Tech Lab right away. Looks like he's going to do a Concussive Shell Marauder opening, no sort of Reaper opening or anything. Both openings actually pretty effective on this map. You go for Reapers, really easy to run back down that back hallway that, like you pointed out before, doesn't have any more rocks there. So you can get Reapers up, maneuver them around quite well. But the straight line Marauder harassment is also pretty strong, especially because a lot of players, when they opt to fast expand, won't go after a ton of force fields. It looks like Zaka's actually dropping down his 2nd gate before he expands, so no very, very fast 1-gate expand coming out of him. So he will be able to defend behind a few force fields for the time being. But yeah, those Marauders, especially with Concussive Shell, are able to catch up and pick off those early aggressive Stalkers that you see a lot of players push out with.
Absolutely right. Marauders are just such a key unit in Terran versus Protoss, because they're able to crush most of, if not all, the gateway units with that Concussive Shell and the Stim combination. So it really forces Protoss players to go into Robotics Facility and get those Immortals out. But even then, a lot of Marauders are able to snipe down Immortals fairly quickly. And I think that Moonan here is going to be going for what seems to be the most popular openings these days. It's just 1 barracks, fast expand, throw down 2 or 3 more barracks, and get out a lot of Marauders and Marines. He's also failed to get the SCV in here to get a scout off, and with that, Zock will immediately go into an expansion. Actually seems to be a 2-gate into Expo, so a little bit earlier than going 3-gate Expo.
Yeah, absolutely, and I like that decision. It's going to not keep him too far behind on economy. It's not going to sacrifice that extra base all that early, and it's also going to, it kind of breaks the middle ground between not having enough units to defend against an early push and feeling safe. So Zaka, a really, really smart build there, dropping down the Robo already. Moonan, on the other hand, though, I like what he's doing as well. He's opting for the 3 racks before he decides to put down any sort of factory or anything like that. So he's not going to put down 4 or 5 racks. He's going to try and get his tech out, try to be a little more aggressive with drop play, medevac play, things along those lines. We'll probably see an engineering bay here pretty soon as well. Don't know if there's one down yet. Doesn't look like there is. So imagine we're going to see an engineering bay here for a few other bio upgrades as well. But, you know, pretty standard stuff coming out of both these players, but should make for a pretty compelling game, especially if Zocke is allowed to build off of that robo technology really unharassed.
Yeah, absolutely right, Cats. You know, one thing that Zocke has done here by going for this 2-gate into Nexus rather than 3-gate Nexus is he, like you said, left himself a little bit vulnerable to an earlier attack. And I forgot to mention to you before you came in here that in game 1, OmooNan actually opened up with a very aggressive and strange timing attack to hit his opponent before the 3 warp gates were finished. And in that game, Zocke actually went 3-gate Nexus. So I guess, yeah, I guess Zocke kind of rolling the dice a little bit, hoping his opponent wouldn't do that, and it has kind of paid off. He's gotten his Nexus down much earlier. OmooNan here still seems a little concerned, has not yet landed down his orbital command. It's just now using it only to pump SCVs, and I don't think he's gonna move out until he gets dropships out. So he's really, really playing conservative, but all this time he's allowing Zocke to overpower him in economy. Yeah,
this is interesting. This looks like at first he was going to do some sort of a 1-base aggressive play. You know, some Terran players will take like an overtly aggressive role where they'll build that extra orbital command, and then they'll just abuse it for extra workers and mules. Double the worker count on 1 base, almost oversaturate it, just wear down its minerals so quick so they can make an exceptionally fast 2-base, or well, really just kind of a 1-base timing attack if you think about it. Double orbital commands.
Yeah.
You know, but so this is weird. I don't know why OmooNan decided to hold that in his base for so long. He is finally filling in that wall, getting up some upgrades as well. But yeah, did decide to keep that in his base for quite a while.
And you know what? He never really muled it either. It had like 100 energy when it came down to land at the natural. So he's been saving energy on an orbital. I don't know if that's ever a good situation. Usually you want to just keep that energy low. So I can't help but wonder, maybe OmooNan is just kind of slipping a little bit this game. Last game, he was behind the entire game and he made a brilliant play to come back and win it. This game, once again, is behind Zocke. So Zocke is showing that he is definitely a more composed and disciplined player when it comes down to build orders, macroing. He flies ahead of the Terran player, but I think OmooNan has a better micro, so we'll see what happens when they do engage.
Yeah, I bet that could have been nerves too. I mean, OmooNan is an extremely solid player. If memory serves me right, he didn't have a terribly tough run through the brackets in week 1 until he got to this stage, until he got to Zocke. So maybe a little bit of he hasn't been tested yet. May just be forgetting because he was actually quite supply blocked for a while there. He was actually at 54 supply capped when Zocke was actually at 83. So that was a huge discrepancy. OmooNan now going to his 3rd base as well. Looks like he's getting up a mess of upgrades. And there'll be, I don't know, I would normally in this situation I would say there's this nice timing where Zocke is going to be investing in tech and he'll be able to make a powerful attack, but Zocke has maintained such a supply advantage this whole time and his macros look so good that that timing window has kind of naturally collapsed.
Yeah, the window may have been open for a second, but based on how this game has gone, I think that window has closed up. Now, OmooNan is going to try to possibly elevate his units up here, but I don't think that's going to be wise, because by revealing those units to the pylon, he knows now the Protoss is definitely going to be prepared for any kind of a dropship play, and yeah, OmooNan is just kind of testing the waters a little bit, getting his feet a little wet here or there, and trying to maneuver his forces. He does have map control, which is really good for a player who's behind in supply. And now, yes, he is going to be going for a drop. He's going to try to elevate his forces, throws down the comsat to check the landing zone, and sees that it is wide and clear. Going to be landing down 2 dropships worth of units here, and we'll see how much damage he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So here come the units now out of OmooNan. He's going to take down a Zealot, and doesn't quite get a Stalker. The Zealots now rallying themselves in.
God!
He does.
Oh my God! That dropship going down was so brutal. That was containing all the Terran forces. I mean, the other dropship was completely empty. It just had a single Marauder, but Fate had it really bad for Moonan, and Moonan, that entire drop was just a complete epic failure.
Yeah. I mean, everything from he almost picked off about 3 or 4 units, but didn't end up actually finishing off any one of them, besides that initial Zealot. Yeah, that was a little rough. You know, I was about to comment as well, too, that Moonan was actually doing a nice thing with this third base. And I was curious to see how quick he was going to put down other unit-producing structures to support the economy of that natural third that he is now floating across over to the about the 2 o'clock position. Wow, actually, he didn't turn that into an orbital command for so long. Oh, he's got to run away with that Marine.
Speedy Gonzalez! Oh, that's a nasty way to die.
Ooh, that's bad animation.
Yeah, those Zealot swords, man, you don't want to be one-on-one against that thing. Zok now is going to be getting another Nexus up at the exterior position here. At the same time, Moonan also going to be grabbing his third, still kind of tendering a small disadvantage in the army supply. And if we pull up the income tab, it looks like both players are pretty much break even. Moonan is going to try to catch up a little bit with another dropship. I like the movement of the dropship going towards the northern border of the map, especially because it doesn't look like Zok has been laying down pylons at all this game. He's really just relying completely on observers, and we may be seeing Cat some kind of a two-pronged attack here, as he looks like he's positioning units at the center as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A double drop right now would be pretty effective, especially if he led with the one at the top left and forced to warp into units in at least a reposition, and then decided to warp around. That'd be kind of cool. Looks like he does him up a few units, though. He's going to walk in. He does manage to take out one pylon. The Stalker's going after the scouting factory. Poor scouting factory hates the commander of that ship, but looks like the Qualifier are going to step in and actually take out quite a few units. Moonan reacting a little bit slowly there. He is going to be able to get his other units in position, but Zaka, the timing was just off for Moonan there, and Zaka's going to be able to move right back and deny this. He should have moved those units up a little quicker, so he could have at least sent a little task force into the natural.
Yeah, I don't know if Moonan really was able to do too much damage with that, although the nice thing is he keeps his opponent on his toes and doesn't let him really get into a comfortable position. Zok now, has to warp Stalkers up here just to be safe. He doesn't want to get picked off by any kind of a drop. He knows that dropship is still up there in the corner and has a couple of Marines and Marauders in there. And Moonan, he's going to go ahead and drop one more time, and he's going to try to do a little bit more damage, but I don't think it's going to be too effective. These 3 Stalkers are out hunting right now for that dropship. And I think Moonan now is gearing up for the late game. This is what he did in game number 1. He got Vikings early on, and with those Vikings, he was excellent at his sniping of Colossus. On top of that, he was really good with the EMP Shockwave. So it's going to come down to his micro for him to overcome his disadvantage in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like Zaka's going to go after the dropship. Going to fall. Good blink micro as well to at least help save those units, but he's more worried about this big force that's sitting in the middle of the map. Moonan maybe dropping down again over at the bottom left-hand corner. Yes, he is.
Moonan's gonna lose the dropship. Only gets 2 Marauders out, and these Marauders are not gonna be able to do much damage at all. Gets a last Stalker kill, actually, getting a little bit of equity out of that drop, but otherwise that was definitely not worth it. And Moonan now may be thinking about pushing across the center, but I feel like his army is just not the size of the Protoss. And it's the exact same thing we saw in game number 1. He relied on his Vikings to pick off Colossus, and I don't know, he's gonna have to rely on his Vikings once again to properly micro and basically micro himself out of this disadvantage.
Yeah, Zaka needs to lead with those Zealots, though. He's got to pull those Stalkers back, because that's his only anti-air. If he loses that
EMP Shockwave, so good, Cats.
Oh my god, and those Stalkers just went down very, very quickly, not really offering much in the way of anti-air, and look at how quickly those Colossi fell. So Moonan is able to clear that up, but he has no army behind this. He has no army behind this. He's pulling back to a defensive position right now, but Zaka's able to crush in. More importantly, those Immortals did not die, and those Immortals are going to be able to crush through bunkers. Looks like he will be repelled, but Zaka still with a 30 supply advantage. Major tech lead producing DTs at the moment as well, going to a second robo, and I think that he is going to be able to trade units all day long.
Moonan's probably now wishing that he had built a planetary up here. That would help so much, but as it stands out, Moonan is most likely going to have to lift off this orbital and float it out of there. And oh god, the SCV is running the gauntlet. really nowhere else they could go, and the orbital is actually gonna fall. From behind, Moonan gonna try to strike these zealots and stalkers and try to regain control over the third expansion, but it does not look good. The situation falling bleaker and bleaker as he's trying to get his marauders out of the way, but they have cornered themselves against the wall of this northeast expansion, excuse me. And aTnSocke, it looks like he is going to be able to just crush Moonan's reinforcements.
Yeah, absolutely. And those medevacs, not really, nothing they can heal at the moment. So they're going to retreat back to the natural. And poor aTnSocke is going to be able to clean up all the rest of the... Oh, he could go off to the top right base. I don't think he knows of its existence yet, but he is setting up a few units. He'll be able to check for that. Zealots are going to be able to do the rest of the damage. No problem. He's also up on bases at the moment. He's got his own fourth coming up to the top left. He's up by 60 supply. He's warping in 10 stalkers at a time, making double colossi. aTnSocke is in a very good position. Moonan is really going to need to come up with a miracle here to get back in this.
Yeah, Moonan, I don't know. I saw him bust out a miracle in the last game. It definitely is possible. I'm not going to discount him because last game I was talking for like the last 10 minutes, cats. I was like, Moonan's going to lose this game. He's definitely out. And then at the very last second, my jaw just hit the floor here. So, I don't know. I'm not going to discount it yet. It is going to come down to some serious miracles. Moonan now is actually forced to relocate the command center. Hasn't had time to decide if it wants to be a planetary or an orbital yet. I would really argue for a planetary at this point, because this is just such a critical expansion to have. I don't know what he's gonna make, but yeah, there's gonna be another drop up here in the corner, and Cats, take it away. Do you think he's gonna do enough damage here?
Yeah, two things going on right now. Moonan is going to do significant damage, but aTnSocke is reacting pretty quickly, so even if he snipes the Nexus, it's not gonna gain him that much, but aTnSocke is doing something beautiful right now,
yes.
and the Nexus isn't even gonna go down. Those DTs, those late game DTs, even if a player has detection, even if a player is prepared for DTs, it still forces you to split up your units. It still forces you to waste scans, just like was done there. And aTnSocke, essentially, with just a couple of units, is going to be able to contain his opponent to that, and Moonan's not going to be able to break out from that beautiful play out of aTnSocke there.
Yeah, aTnSocke now has this Dark Templar, like you were saying. It's forcing the Terran army to split up. Like you said, Moonan, this is going to really test his multitask, so to say. And really, he just doesn't even have any detection here, doesn't have forces here to deal with that. There's actually a Dark Templar chasing the Marauders over here. So it's not a pretty situation for Moonan, who is now constantly playing on the defensive. All the meanwhile, aTnSocke is just amassing the unstoppable Colossus army.
Yeah, aTnSocke is maxed again, and Moonan has been forced to produce medvacs this whole time because otherwise he'll have nothing to back up his Vikings. And yeah, this folks, I suggest you hide your small children and your wives, because this is going to be potentially Terran genocide here. Looks like aTnSocke getting in position. That number of Colossi, oh my dear God. Those 2-3 Colossi, now Barry to finish 3-3 as well. He doesn't even need to bring those last two that he rallied up. Who cares? Those just sitting there at the southern Xel'Naga Tower. aTnSocke gonna move up his army. Moonan has about 10 units. The EMP goes down. Those Colossi, yeah, that's destruction.
Yeah, that's way too many Colossi, and that is gonna be GG. Moonan kind of almost pulling out a miracle like game one, but not quite. And aTnSocke showing that this time around he was not playing for fun and games, he was playing for the win. Now has tied up the series, Cats 1-1, and we do have a third game coming up.
I can't wait, so don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to move into game number 3 in just a second.